As the Formula One world moved from the Azerbaijan to Canada, the FIA issued a so-called technical directive on Thursday in which rules clarifications are shared with the teams. These were aimed at countering the excessive bouncing or porpoising. To counteract this, the teams were allowed to install an extra bar between the floor and the chassis all season to make the floor more solid and to prevent bouncing. In Canada, a second bar may even be used temporarily. The TD stated, at the moment such a second bar can only be seen at Mercedes, which was already driving in the free practice sessions on Friday 24 hours later. Let's find out what the reaction is from Mercedes and other teams about this matter. This matter raises questions among the team's rivals as Mercedes has been able to respond so quickly to the FIA's TD. Team bosses responded and Alpine's Otmar Szafnauer kicks off and says he may expect protests against teams like Mercedes. The TD was sent when our technical director was on the plane, so it was quite late. We were unable to produce a second rod at that time, he says. And if we look at the process, it's a technical directive, and as we all know, they're not rules, just clarifications on existing rules, so maybe we shouldn't even be driving this during qualifying and the race. If teams use them, I can imagine that they might be studied after the game and that there will be protests, predicts the American. Szafnauer also does not understand that Mercedes was able to react so quickly, especially when it comes to the floor. He says it's difficult to just add new parts without first studying it carefully and thinking about it carefully. We would be able to produce a second bar for the next race in 2 weeks. We have chosen to make our floor stiffer in that area at the expense of more weight. That's a balance you're looking for. You add weight so that the floor becomes stiffer, it can install a bar, and then you don't have to add that weight. He points out how unfair it can be. We certainly wouldn't be able to produce a second rod in 1 day. Does Mercedes have a crystal ball? Other team bosses also expressed their dissatisfaction and surprise. You can react, but you have to know in advance what you're doing and what the result is. That is why you have to approach it conservatively in such a situation and look to the next race, says Mike Crack of Aston Martin. AlphaTauri team principal Franz Tost echoes his colleague. If we talk about the reaction time to the new rules, certainly the floor of a Formula One car is very sensitive. To install new parts without examining it first, we as AlphaTauri would need time for that. We're not going to do that here in Canada yet. Zak Brown, the CEO of McLaren, reacts cynically. Teams that are prepared for this probably have a crystal ball, after which Williams leader Josh Capito closes. I was of course surprised to see that a team was already prepared, said the team boss. Toto Wolff is not pleased with the criticism Mercedes received after the training sessions in Canada. The German team's competitors are questioning the updates that came very quickly after the FIA measures against porpoising. Wolff calls it manipulation. Just before the Grand Prix weekend in Canada, the FIA announced a number of measures against porpoising. Mercedes was there very quickly, and immediately at the start of the weekend, the team had already adapted its cars to the new relaxation of the FIA. The F1 teams thought it was very fast and questioned the updates of the German racing team. A number of team bosses announced that there might be protests, after which Mercedes removed the extra reinforcement of the floor from the cars as a precaution. After qualifying, Toto Wolff is furious with the competitors, and this is a sport where everyone is trying to gain a competitive advantage, but this situation is going way too far, he told. All the drivers, at least one in each team, have said that they were in pain after Baku and that was difficult to keep the car on the track or they couldn't see well. And now the team bosses are trying to manipulate things and playing political games while the FIA tries to find a quick solution so that the cars get better. That's not fair. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button to not miss any F1 news.